Hi, my name is Carissa, and I wanted to share my TTC story. I realized that anytime I need some assurance or information, I hop onto YouTube and watch videos and try to get information, and I realized that I'm not contributing and making videos myself, and I'm of the mindset to where, you know, if I can help one person get through this just a little bit easier, it's worth my time. So just to tell you a little bit about who I am and my story, my husband and I, we've been married since December of 2012, and we've been trying to conceive since February of 2013 when I got my IUD removed. It's now May of 2014, and I'm unfortunately not pregnant. So about a year and 3 months is how long we've been trying at this point. And so it started in February. I got my IUD removed, and I assumed it would be, you know, get things regular for a couple months, because obviously I only had a couple periods a year with an IUD, and I thought it would take until like May or June, like 2 or 3 months, like everyone says, to get your periods regular again and then ovulate regularly. So we were, you know, trying to conceive from February to June, but not expecting anything to happen. And then in June, we got really serious about it, like tracking everything, temping. I was on, you know, we were both on like a baby diet where it was extremely high nutrient, organic foods, checking cervical fluid every day, you know, is it high, low, soft, hard, open, close, wet, dry, you know, there's just there's a lot to track that I didn't know until I was going through this experience. You know, I would track my moods and how I'm feeling. Obviously, we spent a lot of money on OPKs to see if I was ovulating and when I'm ovulating. Pregnancy tests. It's just a very tedious process. And, you know, I since my cycles are extremely, you know, irregular, my cycles vary from 53 to 104 days, which obviously makes it extremely hard to figure out when you're going to be ovulating. So that was a big challenge, and it still is a big challenge. I still don't have regular periods, but I'm now on medications, which I'll go into a little bit later. They're trying to regulate things. Anyway, so it's a very tedious process, and I realized that I was pretty much wishing time away. You know, I would wish for, you know, however long to pass, however many more days, so that I could have a cycle, and then as soon as I ovulate, you know, then I would wish away 2 more weeks or 3 more weeks so I could find out if I'm pregnant, and then once I get that disappointing, you know, negative, I would be wishing for another cycle again, and just like wishing time away. I realized that I didn't spend much time in 2013 really in the present. I was just wishing for time to pass so I could hurry up and get pregnant, but I'm finding that these things don't happen on my time, and I'm kind of a person that has always been like, if I work really hard at something, then I will get the results that I want, you know, but this is completely out of my hands, and it's something that I've really had to come to terms with, is that I'm not in control of this, and I just have to trust that God's going to take care of me, and things will happen in His time. So after about 5-6 months of, you know, tracking everything and really paying attention to my body and my cycles and pretty much everything, I would have a cycle for like 89 days, and then the next month I'd have one at like 57 days, the next one I'd have one at 103 days, so it was just really all over the place, and it really made things extremely difficult. But towards the end of November of 2014, I just had a really, it was just a very eye-opening day when I just had a really big gut feeling, and I was like, geez, something is not right. I just knew that something was not right. And I'm one of those people that, you know, if I get a really strong gut killer instinct, I gotta go with it. So I'm really glad that I did. I went to my gynecologist and I explained to him that we had been trying to conceive since February. He obviously said it's not been a year yet, so you know, you still have a ways to wait. But I told him, you know, I'm wondering if there's something wrong, if I have endometriosis or PCOS or something, because I obviously do research on my own and I try not to waste my doctor's time. But I realize I should ask him more questions when I'm there instead of relying on random internet facts. But when I went there in November, he asked me a lot of questions, and we did some blood work, and we found out that I do have PCOS due to irregular periods. My progesterone was really low, and my testosterone levels were extremely high. You know, I have adult acne. I have yeah, it's kind of never ever gone away, and I take really good care of my skin, but unfortunately, you know, the acne has never gone away, and it's due to a hormone imbalance in my body. Also, sometimes I grow like little tiny facial hairs. Some are blonde and some are dark black. Sometimes I grow some like witchy hairs on the bottom too. And I'm like, oh, what's that on me? And then I'm like, oh snap, that's not going away. I gotta get some tweezers. So I always wonder what's up with all these weird things that are happening to me that don't happen to everybody else. And I had a lot of questions answered once I realized that I do have PCOS. So once I realized that I have PCOS, it kind of gave me a peace of mind, because, you know, all the time when you're tracking and trying so hard to get things done, and, you know, making sure that you're doing everything proactively that you possibly can to get pregnant, and then you don't, you start taking it on yourself as your fault. Like, you know, maybe I'm subconsciously stressing out too much about this. Maybe I should do what everyone else says and stop trying, and then it will happen, because everyone says, you know, once you stop trying, you'll get pregnant. But that's not true when you have PCOS. So it's taken a lot of patience, and it's been a lot more emotional than I expected. Usually when I'm having a really rough time with something, I'm like, hey, just don't dwell on it, don't stress about it, stop thinking about it so much, and you know, it won't freak you out or it won't stress you out. And for a majority of the time it's been true, but I realized that sometimes I just gotta feel the things that I feel, and it makes me feel really good that I'm actually really surprised by how many people have difficulty trying to conceive, and you know, it's something that I want to raise awareness for too, because it's just kind of this silent thing that is happening to so many women. And you know, a lot of times there's no answers, or there are answers and people are afraid to take the medication. I'm extremely grateful that we have technology out there that can fix this. You know, if my body can't do it, I am extremely grateful for fertility medication and all the tracking and testing that can happen to, you know, that you can take and try to prevent this and try to get pregnant if you can't do it on your own. So I feel extremely grateful. So to get back to my story, once I found out that I had PCOS, he wanted me to go in to see, you know, how severe the PCOS was, and that meant getting ultrasounds done, so internal and external ultrasounds done, and they were trying to measure the follicles and to see if I had what's called a string of pearls. And thankfully I'm in the early stages of PCOS, so it's not as severe as it could be. So there's some people that have really severe forms of PCOS that only have like 1 to 2 periods per year. Thankfully I'm not in that boat. I'm having at least, you know, 4 to 6, which is not very many. I should be having like 12. So, you know, I'm thankful, I'm grateful that at least I'm ovulating and that I am having periods. It's just a lot more difficult than I expected. I don't think anybody expects to go on this, you know, trying to conceive journey. It's just something that you don't foresee in your life. So, once I found out that I do have PCOS, after the the ultrasounds, my gynecologist put me on metformin to decrease my insulin levels and try to regulate my periods. He said, if you are not pregnant come March, I want you to come back and we're gonna put you on Clomid. So obviously I'm extremely patient, and we decided to stop trying. I was wondering if all the tracking was subconsciously stressing me out. So we decided to stop trying the first couple months of the year, between December and March, and obviously no luck. So I went back in to go see my gynecologist, and I also saw a fertility specialist, and he said that he would not prescribe me Clomid until I have an HSG test, which is it's also known as the dye test, where they insert dye into your uterus up into your fallopian tubes, and it spills out your ovaries to make sure that everything is flowing correctly, there's no blockages, and there's no scar tissue that will either cause a fallopian tube pregnancy or cause you to not get pregnant at all. So just to make sure that things are passing clearly. So thankfully everything came back very clear there. That was an extremely painful test, but I would say it's worth it, no doubt. I would do it again. It gives a lot of answers. So once I knew that that was all clear, that was a major relief as well. And it's the very beginning of May of 2014, and I just started taking progesterone to force my period. Obviously, my cycles, since they're between 53 and 104 days, I didn't want to wait another possible 4 months before starting this process, knowing that I was signing up to take Clomid anyways. So we forced a cycle. This is day 1 of taking progesterone, and ultimately I'm forcing a cycle, and then as soon as I start the first day of the cycle, I'll be taking Clomid day 5 through 9, which will force me to ovulate on the right time, and I will be releasing a mature egg instead of it just ending up being a fluid-filled sac, which PCOS is very well known for. So that's how things are going at the moment. I haven't had terrible side effects. I just took my first one last night. My stomach was really in knots this morning, and I had a bit of diarrhea, but other than that, I'm just trying to think of the positives and realize that this is just a short-term inconvenience for me, to really give me what I have been hoping and praying for. So I hope to be an inspiration to others, because I have really gotten a lot of inspiration from other people's vlogs, and I just want to say thank you to everyone in the TTC community for just being supportive of each other, and just really being, it's like a camaraderie that we have for each other, and just a likeness where we can kind of explain what's going on and be vulnerable with each other, where we can't really be with other people, because they say stupid things like, hey, just relax and it'll happen, and just offensive things. They're trying to be supportive, but sometimes it can be really offensive. So thankfully it's really nice to have a community where we can share these things together, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who posts vulnerable videos about themselves, and you can see more coming from me. I do want to be a contributing member of this. So good luck to everyone. I hope everyone's having an awesome, productive day, and baby dust to all.